Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to be respectful to you. You're my elder. So all I wanted to ask you was, um, what are all the attributes of the Christian God that you think are necessary for intelligibility that other gods do not possess? And I want to write this down because it's important, right?
Oh, you're the 15-year-old?
Yeah, I just apologized to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How's it going, Smoke Daddy?
Oh no, I'm not Smoke Daddy. You like
Really?
what?
Yeah.
I don't.
Really?
I don't sound anything like him.
Really?
I don't. No, I think people in here know who Daddy Smoke is. I don't sound anything like him, and I'm
Okay.
apologizing to
All
you for
right.
last night.
Well,
Booney was here last night.
how about God being absolute? He's eternal. He's ultimate. Okay.
Oh, okay.
How
Let me
about
just write this down.
how about let's just start with the first one. He's ultimate.
Okay, okay. So ultimate,
Yeah. How about
absolute,
yeah.
eternal.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. No, let's just start with ultimate. Okay.
No, I know.
Is
I
there any
know.
is there any competitor out there?
I don't. I'm not aware of one. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so if somebody tries to postulate a God that is not love, that's going to metaphysically undermine um, intelligibility, because
I
then we
understand.
won't we won't have a redemptive God. Okay,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
the Bible teaches that God's redemption flows out of his attribute of love. And then if he's not a redemptive God, then he's not a God who cares about righteousness and justice, and he's a God who doesn't care about truth. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
so these attributes are interconnected and interrelated.
Yeah.
So
So,
what do you believe?
I'm a deist, but first, we can talk about that later for sure. We can talk about my deism for sure later. So, are those the only three attributes, or do you think God has to be omnibenevolent for intelligibility?
Well, God's benevolence is probably could be included in the meaning that God is love. Okay.
Okay, so he has to be omnibenevolent.
Yeah.
Does he have to be always truth revealing for us to have intelligibility?
Okay, what is the ultimacy of reality must be truth revealing in order for there to be metaphysical grounds for
Okay.
there to be intelligibility. Intelligibility does not mean the word intelligibility has been misconstrued by sophist atheists who are not well read in Vantillian apologetics or metaphysics.
Do
What
you
it
think I'm one
means
of
is
those?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Now, um, intelligibility means that whatever is proposed as being intelligible, that there's actual fundamental metaphysical grounds for there to be intelligibility. The intelligibility is not intelligibility does not mean simply or only that somebody else understands you. Okay, so let me give you
okay.
an example. Suppose
Okay.
we have somebody who's a schizophrenic, right? Um, you know that people who have schizophrenia, that their reasoning is at times insane and completely convoluted, and they will make
Um, sure.
okay. They'll say yeah. They'll just say the picture on the wall has a headache, right? You'll smile at that, right?
The picture on the wall has a what?
A headache,
Oh, well, I wouldn't think that's true. No.
right? Right. Okay. So, but if he's talking to another schizophrenic, right, who's equally crazy, he'll nod his head and say, "You know what? I agree with you. That picture is thirsty." So the fact that there is verbiage going on, but both parties think they're comprehending each other, is intelligibility actually real there?
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah. Is there
Um,
intelligibility real? Is it real?
they understand each other, so there's only
Do they?
intelligibility
Do they?
internal.
Right. So when the second schizophrenic, when he hears that the picture has a headache, he says, "Yeah, you're right. It's thirsty."
Oh, then there's no intelligibility there. No,
Right, but they both think that they possess intelligibility. And then
I wouldn't know
the
about
set
that.
this the second schizophrenic says, "You know what? I agree with you." And he goes into the closet and he gets two Tylenol and he says, "Here, that'll take care of the headache." because everybody knows that Tylenol cures thirst.
Yeah. Okay.
And the first guy
So
goes, you know what? You're right, because when you take 2 Tylenol, it cures thirst, and everybody knows that headaches are brought about by being thirsty. Okay, so
um,
the fact that they both believe that there's intelligibility doesn't mean that there's intelligibility.
okay.
Okay,
So what was that?
intelligibility means that there's actual ontological foundational grounds in order for there to be intelligibility, not just because 2 agents believe that there's intelligibility. Okay.
Okay.
So, for
So
example, if one person
okay.
goes to another person at a deli, give me a roast beef sandwich with mustard on it, right? The person says, okay, sure. And he comes back with a roast beef sandwich with mustard on it. Does that mean that there's intelligibility going on? Does that necessitate it?
I don't think so.
Okay. The point is,
Yeah.
intelligibility, just like anything else, is not going to exist in and of itself. It's going to have some ultimate precondition, right?
Well, I don't know about that. See, I disagree with your viewpoint, so obviously I don't believe
Oh,
that.
okay. So you believe that there is something that exists that doesn't derive and depend upon whatever is the ground of all being?
I can explain that in depth. And just before I
All I
answer
want
that,
to
do you
know
think that
is there something that exists that doesn't derive and depend upon the ground of all being, or is it that you don't believe that there's a ground of all being?
is there something that exists that does not derive from the ground of all being? I don't think so. No.
Okay. So
No.
do you believe that there is a ground of all being?
Yeah.
What is it?
God.
Okay. Okay. So is God the necessary prerequisite for intelligibility?
Actually, I don't. I think God is necessary for intelligibility, but I don't think that intelligibility itself is necessary.
No, I said, do you believe that God is a necessary precondition for intelligibility?
I think that intelligibility itself is not necessary.
Okay, that's an evasive and deceptive
Hey, one sec, Darth.
response.
I'll be right back. One sec. One sec.
Yeah, he's being deceptive and evasive.
Sir, can I ask something?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's on subject. Can God do something which is impossible? Because I think even in Christian theology, God cannot do things that are impossible. For example, cannot make a
No,
rock.
that's not that no, that is not the Christian position. Okay, God is the source
Oh,
of
Darth, I'm
what.
back. I'm back. I'm
Yeah, hold
back.
on a
So
second.
yeah.
So
So
hold
Darth.
on a second. I said hold on. So Socrates, in biblical theology, God is the ground of all being. God is himself. The eternal nature and character of God is what dictates what is, can be, and cannot be. Now,
Yeah.
the Christian position is that God cannot do things that are logically incoherent. Why? Because
Exactly.
because the reason why is because intelligibility, coherence, things that are logically possible all derive from the eternal character of God. Since God cannot be what he is not. That's
Yes, but
why.
but what you said now means that logic underlines God. Because if God cannot do stuff
No,
that goes
no.
against logic,
Whatever we invoke to exist that is not God ultimately derives and depends upon the eternal nature and character of God. So if you talk about logic, whatever that is, it derives and depends upon God.
Can we get back to the conversation? I was
In a,
engaged with
in
you,
a,
Darth.
in a second.
In a
So
second, okay.
Socrates, when we talk about the laws of logic, okay, do
yes.
you think that the law of non-contradiction is a parameter that God is subject to?
Yes, because I don't believe
Okay, then
obviously
we're
that
then,
God.
then then we're not talking about God then. If you say that there is something that God himself is subject to, then God is not God. What we should say is this is that the law of non-contradiction reflects the character and nature of God.
Mm.
Okay? So God cannot God God cannot contradict himself. He cannot equal what he is not.
Ah,
So
now I understand. Yes,
whatever he creates, okay, is
yes.
going to reflect his nature.
He
So the
cannot
law of non-contradiction is a reflection of the nature of God.
he cannot go against his nature. In other words, it's not that he is violating logical absolute.
God
He
cannot be God cannot be what he is not.
yes, that's a good answer, sir. Yes, I understood.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we go
I,
back to the conversation?
Yeah, please wait, sir. Let me finish with Socrates.
You weren't
So
finished
our,
with me.
so the answer is God cannot do illogical things because that would be the same thing as saying God violating his own nature
yeah, understand. Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
or
Yeah,
being
that's
what
pretty
he is
good.
not. Okay.
Okay. Can we get back to the conversation, Darth?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think you asked me enough questions. I answered all your questions in good faith. Do you think I've been respectful up to now?
Yeah, can you just get to the point? This is
Okay,
getting
okay,
wearisome.
sure,
Okay.
sure, sure. So I think that you argue, right, as opposed to deductively, I think you argue from an abductive standpoint because I
No,
don't think
actually,
that intelligibility
that
is
you're mistaken. The transcendental argument for God, which is employed by Van Til himself, is not. It's not strictly deductive and it's not strictly inductive. It's a mixture. Okay, and
what?
I can dig up citations from Van Til where he actually says that.
Yeah, can you explain that in depth? How is it inductive and deductive at the same time?
Okay, because we're starting with our own experience. Okay.
Wait, so are you conceding that it's a probabilistic conclusion then because it's inductive in nature?
No, it's not. It's not. There's a difference. There's a difference between probabilistic and induction. You're conflating the two.
Actually, there isn't. Inductive conclusions are probabilistic.
No, not necessarily.
Wait, when is an inductive conclusion not probabilistic?
Okay. You could when you do induction, you're counting what is before you. Okay, you're starting with particulars within your uniform experience. Probabilism would require background information, okay, as to what's static and what's dynamic. Induction would just simply be what you become acquainted with in your immediate experience, which isn't necessarily a declaration of what would be static as opposed to what's dynamic. Okay, so
Wait, so you said that
listen carefully. Do you agree or not agree that probabilistic evaluations are subject to background information?
I don't know what background information is.
Background information, can you make a probabilistic evaluation if you don't know what is static or dynamic?
I don't know what static and dynamic means.
Static means is what does not change versus what does change.
So you're
Can
saying,
you
can you make an inductive conclusion?
can you make a
Sorry. Okay.
probabilistic conclusion about selecting a ping pong ball with the number 8 on it when you do not know at any given moment when you reach into the plexiglass box how many numbered ping pong balls are in there?
Yeah. I don't know. But can I ask you a question?
No, the answer is not I don't know.
Yes.
The answer is you could not.
Okay, sure, sure.
Okay.
That doesn't really
For
matter to the
example,
argument.
okay, do you know who William Lane Craig is?
Yes. Can I ask you a question?
Do you think he's adept at philosophy?
Yes. Can I ask you a
Okay,
question?
William Lane Craig has stated on a number of occasions that probabilities are subject to background information. And
Sure.
that background information is going to be subject to what is static along with what is dynamic. Now,
Sure.
if everything was dynamic and there was nothing identifiable that's static, could you make probabilistic declarations that hold?
No, but can I ask you a question?
Okay, yeah. You listen, dude. This is getting wearisome with
I
you.
said
What is your
no.
what you see? What is your real point that you want to get to?
Okay. Okay, sure. Thank you for saying that. My real point is
Because you're being coy.
okay, yeah, yeah. I understand why you would think that. The real point I want to get to is, do you think that there is a syllogism that establishes the existence of God? And if so, can you render it?
I already gave it yesterday. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'll ask you a question about that syllogism you gave yesterday because I have it
Yeah.
written down, right? Do you remember the premises or do you want me to repeat them to you?
You know what? This is really getting irritating.
Okay. The question
If you
is,
listen carefully. Let me put it in polite terms. If you don't get your fucking point, I'm going to server mute you.
okay, thanks. My point is, do you think God can reveal himself without existing?
can God reveal himself if he doesn't exist? That's an incoherent notion.
Yeah, what is
Okay,
that?
exactly. So you think he can't do that? Okay, good.
That,
So
no, no,
would
no, no.
God?
Stop right there. You know what? You're beyond precocious. You're really getting to be annoying right now because you're indicating to me that you have this agenda that you're holding. You're waiting to drop the bomb here. Okay. What you just made a statement as to what I agreed to, what I didn't agree to. I just said that notion is incoherent.
Okay, so the notion is incoherent. So that means that, and I'm
So,
just
for
asking to clarify.
example, so if you said to
Okay.
me, can God create a rock so big that he can't lift it? And I said, that's incoherent. And you say, oh, okay, so you agree that God can't do it. That's what you just did.
Oh no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. No, I'm not. In no way
All
I'm
right.
bringing up
Hey,
like an
listen to
omnipotent
me.
paradox.
Listen to me. I've warned you several times. You better get to your fundamental point instead of
Okay,
beating
my
around the bush.
my fundamental point is in the syllogism that you provided. It presumes that God first has to exist to reveal himself. So it's circular.
No, you know what? You know what? You're really dumb. Okay, I've gone over this. Okay, the first premise says
Hmm.
in
Let me
the
write it down.
case in the case that God. Well, you told me you wrote it down yesterday.
This is different from the one you just gave me yesterday.
No, it is not.
Okay, then go ahead.
Okay, the first premise is in the case that the Christian God exists, and he reveals himself through a phenomenon that that necessarily entails him, then he exists. That's the first premise.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What's the second premise?
The second premise is there is a phenomenon that entails God. It necessarily implies God. Conclusion,
Okay, and then the
therefore
conclusion
God
is God
exists.
exists.
Yeah.
The conclusion is God exists. Okay, so you're saying that the Christian God revealed himself through a phenomenon, and that's how we know he exists. That's how he exists. But wouldn't God first have to exist to be able to reveal himself through a phenomenon?
You know something? You're
That's
really, listen, you are ignorant as a 15-year-old teenager.
Hey,
You're
I'm
not
not the one
understanding.
begging the question.
I'm not the one falsely accusing somebody of begging the question.
Then go ahead and explain how you're not doing it.
You haven't established that. Listen to me carefully.
Okay, I'll
It
tell you.
doesn't. Listen to me carefully. You're not as smart as you think you are.
Yes,
You're
I
really
am.
dumb. And no, you're not.
I'm extremely smart, actually.
No. You may be smart, but you're not as smart as you think you are. And I'm going to explain why. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Go ahead.
when you say I'm begging the question, right? All I'm simply saying is there is a phenomenon, okay? But that the phenomenon implies God. Something implying God is not the same thing as saying God exists. Okay,
Right. So if you think that okay,
you did a face plant on the concrete sidewalk.
not really. Not really. That's not relevant
No,
to what I
yeah,
said,
yeah,
right?
you're not understanding.
I am understanding.
If something implying the existence is not the same thing as stating that X exists. If
I
we
didn't say
say
that.
why, okay, now, so where's the begging the question in the two premises and the conclusion? Where?
Sure. So the first premise means that God exists because for him to reveal himself, he first has to exist.
No, dumb.
The
Wow,
phenomenon is
you know what?
tautological for God
You see,
exists.
you're now being argumentative with me. I've already explained to you. Okay, I did. The first premise does not assert that God necessarily exists. It says in the case that he exists.
Yeah, it's P2. P2 is what I'm talking about.
Listen to me carefully. Okay,
I am.
P2. Okay, premise 2 is that there's a phenomenon that implies God.
Sure.
Is
But that
P2?
phenomenon,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Is P2 the same as the conclusion?
no.
Good. So where's begging the question?
P2 presumes that the conclusion is true. It's not the same thing, though.
No, sir. No. Listen to me carefully.
What?
Where is begging the question? Show it to me in where in P1,
Sure.
P2 in the conclusion is it begging the question? You know what?
Sure.
Your time has just about run out because you're suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect.
You just asked me a question and then continued to
Okay.
talk.
Well, last warning. Show me where that's begging the question.
Sure.
Where is
Sure.
where is the conclusion? Overtalk me again, and you're going to be server muted. Where is the conclusion smuggled in to P2, P1 or P2?
So P2 means that God first has to exist to reveal himself through a phenomenon, right?
No, sir, no. Well, P2
Yes.
is simply a P2 is not a stipulation
Of God existing.
that God exists. It's a
I
stipulation
understand
that
that.
there's a phenomenon that implies God.
I understand that.
Okay, so
Okay.
so is P2 declaring God exists?
No.
Good.
Do you know what an enthymeme is?
So is the conclusion in P2?
No. P2 presumes that the conclusion is first true for it to be.
No, sir. Listen
Can
to
I
me.
explain why?
Okay, we're done.
Okay,
Wow.
you're fucking retarded.
Yeah. Here, a 15-year-old is telling an experienced debater that I'm retarded. Okay.
Hey, could I ask a question, Darth, please?
Yeah. Yeah, mate. Go ahead.
Cheers. First of all, I'd like to say I was muted a couple of weeks ago by Darth, and that was fair enough. I was over talking. I wasn't being respectful, so I'm back, sort of with my tail between my legs, and
I'm
say,
gonna be able to sleep tonight. Thank you. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm not saying it for that reason.